Redditors, what made you go thank god I broke up with him/her after you met your ex again after some time? This ex and I had a long history. He was the first friend I made when my parents divorced and I moved in with dad in a new neighborhood. We had helped each other through breakups and tragedies and always found new adventures to go on. I got to my senior year and we started dating. After a while I noticed nagging comments being made at me, no effort to get a job. I was 17, he was 23, and I paid his phone bill, and just awful world views that make no sense. I broke it off, and he proceeded to spam my phone with calls and photos of him mutilating his arms. A few years later, I'm back in town for a small reunion of friends. He was there, and we had polite chit chat. He was still living with his parents, drinking too much, and only working 3 days a week at the Taco Bell in walking distance, since he didn't have a car either. I can only imagine I would be similarly stuck if I had stayed. No thanks. Some people don't change. I worked with a guy at a call center that would always rip people off by not paying them back, and quit his job without notice. 10 years later he's looking for a place to stay because he's staying in his car after his mom kicked him out. I declined his request to move in. He tried a lot of psychology and guilt trips on me while I showed him the place, but told him I wasn't interested. She took up shooting. That crazy woman would definitely have killed me by now. Having guns in the house would just make it faster. You honestly left a person because she took up shooting? Or was she a crazy person who took up shooting? Oh no, we broke up years earlier. She was crazy long before, and it had nothing to do with shooting. She liked to greet me by drawing blood, or by punching me in the nuts, or alternately by crying or demanding love, sex, more attention. She would rewrite her history constantly to make herself a victim, kept a diary in 4 different voices, and writing styles 1 in code, and genuinely had serious problems. I have no problem with someone taking up shooting. It's fun and a neat hobby, can be a great way to let off steam, hunt, whatever. I have a serious issue with her taking up guns. She hurt people and abused power and felt no consequences for her actions before. Giving her a gun just made her more deadly. Mind you, she hasn't killed anyone yet that I know of, so maybe I just drove her mad. Either way, glad we are not together these days. I always knew my ex wanted a baby, but the thing is, after we broke up, she began dating another guy like 3 days after. And after that guy, she began to date another guy shortly after, and, after less than 1 year of relationship, got pregnant. Shortly after she delivered, they broke up. Now she is a single mother looking avidly for a relationship. I learned that she is a relationship addict. Sorry for being uneducated, but what does relationship addict mean? I would say my mother is a relationship addict. She doesn't feel like she can survive on her own and looks to others to validate herself. She will always take the first guy to show her any kindness, usually to her detriment. Does she do the thing where she overcommits to the first guy that is relatively nice, ignores all warning signs for way too long, and then after they break up takes his negative qualities and exaggerates them to the point of her ex sounding like some kind of inhuman sociopathic monster? Or is that just my mom? Didn't meet him after some time, but read an obituary. We dated in high school. He took a trip to his home country, Islamic country, for the summer and came back so different. He was a very nice and very good looking man, but came back angry at the world and obsessive. I broke up with him, and he would harass me afterwards for some time by sending me hateful messages over Facebook. I read his obituary a few years ago. He got into a heated argument and got stabbed. It's too bad, because when we initially dated he was such a good kid, innocent, smart, and just got overtaken by hate. I had an aunt that married a guy from Islamic country. Her husband took their daughter in the middle of the night and fled to Islamic country. It's been over 15 years and she's never been able to contact or find her again. Horrible situation that nearly completely broke her as a person. That makes me so sad. I hope she finds her one day soon. We loved each other very much in the beginning. We were young and full of passion. Always together, always being physically affectionate. However, things took a turn for the worst. She started to withdraw from the things she loved, was very hypersexual, moments of happiness then depression, started doing drugs and drinking, grade slipping and reckless behavior. She got better for a bit, but started hanging out with this guy friend more, and I caught on. She never told me, but like her mother I knew it was schizophrenia. The therapy, the medication, and she knew it was killing me. We broke up. Last I knew of her was a picture she posted of herself in North Dakota with the guy she had cheating on me with 2 years prior. Ran into her working at a McDonald's drive-thru in California a few months prior. Small world. I don't want to say I dodged a bullet, but I saw what schizophrenia does to those you love. Hope she's doing okay. She told me that she had a new partner and then told me that she was just joking and she wanted to see what my reaction would be. Then she said, how could you let him steal your girl like that? All of this was within a minute. I'm glad I got away from that emotional manipulation. My ex did the same thing but wasn't joking. Like 2 weeks into her new relationship she texted me, I can't believe you aren't fighting for us. I didn't bother responding to that or any further texts. Ah yes, gaslighting. What a great joke. Been there, chicas can be loco, Holmes. More just manipulation than gaslighting. Lying does not directly equate to gaslighting. Gaslighting is more about long-term manipulation with the intent to make you doubt reality, so you become dependent upon your so. It's become a rather overused term and recent common usage is making it a pointless term. He got a giant satanic tattoo on his back. Note, not a real Satanist. He's a worship the Dark Lord and practice black magic sort of Satanist. Honestly not going to be shocked when he turns out to be a serial killer, not a LaVeyan Satanist. It's been brought to my attention that there are other types of Satanism. I love that worshipping the Dark Lord and practicing black magic actually discounts you from being a real Satanist. LaVeyans aren't the only kind of Satanist. The left-hand path is very much a thing, and some of them are 80s satanic panic-style devil worshippers. But LaVey always felt like atheism with extra steps, and hokey magic tacked on to seem spookier. Had no idea, I only knew about LaVeyan. Thanks for the info. I'm going to put this one in a nice way, because this ex I probably shouldn't have ever dated. Not that he's a bad guy, we were just incompatible together, and shall have remained friends. We are still friends now, and he's coming to my wedding as a guest. It was just one of those things that there was alcohol involved, and I was just out of a bad long-term relationship and we were just there. He's a lovely guy and I love him as a friend. We just weren't meant to be. We broke up so amicably. We both at the same time said I think we need to talk and just agreed to break up and be friends again. It lasted about 8 months I think. It fizzled out long before the breakup. I'm glad things ended the way they did, so we can be friends again. If we tried to force it to work we would both be miserable. Dated a girl in HS. She kissed me and said you're mine now. Red flag. I broke up with her sometime later. Meet up 15 years later. Find out she's a scam artist. Racked up huge debt. Ruined her husband's CR as well as her own. Gets him arrested. Moves on and plays the victim. I didn't just dodge a bullet. I dodged a whole army. Silver lining, she introduced me to my wife maybe a year after we broke up. Happily ever after. You're mine now. Why is this a red flag? I'm now afraid of being a bad person because I say that often. Being possessive is never a good thing. People are not things to own. Sometimes we say it in another context, so it doesn't necessarily means you're bad, but you may want to avoid saying it. Not really an ex, but a guy I was seeing for a couple months and I kinda fizzled. We just kinda stopped making plans. No chemistry, at least on my end. I ran into him at a show months later that we both attended alone, so I went over to say hi, and he was happy to see me, offered to buy me a drink, and we were having a good time. A few beers and I thought to myself, man, why did I stop seeing this dude? I'm having a really good time. Then, in a half-empty venue during an acoustic set, he starts singing along, very loudly, off-key, to the point where the performer on stage awkwardly chuckled and said, wow, guess there's some fans here tonight. In that cringe, all the reasons came flooding back. When I looked my first ex up online, I found his parents' divorce document and I saw he had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Then everything made sense now in our relationship and he didn't show the typical signs of it. Then egg voices, paranoia about people going after him or the governor, talking to himself. So it was good I did break up with him. Now his mom had to take care of him, and she couldn't maintain a steady job because she has to take care of his daily needs despite him living on his own. For once I did finally forgive him and then understood his apology. He left me after the breakup. I wanted to make amends, but couldn't because I can't locate his Facebook page and he uses a different name. I know. My ex was a really nice girl, but had two of the worst helicopter parents I ever saw. I'm talking they drew up weekly meal plans and wardrobe lists for her. 25-year-old woman still needed her parents to tell her what to eat and what to wear. Broke up for obvious reasons. Her parents hated me. Last I saw her was like 5 years later. She is living in a house her parents paid for. I was the last guy she seriously dated, and she has 6 cats. Also she makes cat noises mannerisms to express emotions now. She spent 30 minutes talking about her cats, like they were people, and making animal sounds. They faked their suicide for 3 whole weeks. That's a long time to hide out in a Chuck E. Cheese. Personally I thought it was a long time to lay really still. Achievement unlocked plank master. We only knew each other on the internet, so I guess she didn't really lay still. But she did go offline on all her social accounts that I knew of for 3 weeks and had her brothers tell me about her, and she had been suicidal for months already with multiple attempts before that. I'm sure this is a reference I didn't get, but I still found this hilarious for some reason. My first boyfriend was when I was about 18, and he was a year younger and went to a different school than me. Once we broke up during the summer we lost contact instantly. I had graduated, moved to a different city, and got a job, so I wasn't concerned about him at all. About a year later my friend who was in the same grade as him told me he dropped out of high school and just deals drugs out of his mum's house as a job. I had flashbacks to helping him with his math homework, and he never understood a single thing I tried to explain. I can't say I was surprised though, he was never the brightest. We worked together, but it isn't as bad as it could be since we're in different departments. One time, I was explaining to her that something was broken, and she could take a look at it. She's a supervisor in her department. I told her it didn't need to be fixed immediately, but whenever she got a moment she should look at it. She snapped at me and said, "I'm busy right now. I'll look at it later." I just walked away without saying anything and thought to myself how thankful I was that I don't have to deal with that anymore. Only taking in half of what I say and then snapping at me was something she did a lot.